deep into the UNIFI tool, we're gonna be reviewing some of the lesser known features that may be of a big benefit to you and your firm. And so we want to kind of dive in a little bit deeper into the firm or into the program than we have in the past. We also have some exciting news with a new release that we're going to be covering some of the new features that were released this past Friday as well. Okay, so I'm really happy to have my good friend and colleague, Parley Burnett, joining us today. Parley is currently the Director of Success here at UNIFI. Parley, how you doing today, bud?
Good, Steve. Thanks for having me. Good to be with everybody today as well.
All right, thanks for joining, buddy. So myself, Steve Germano, I also work here as a Director of UNIFI, kind of exploring new product ideas and other various biz dev ventures. All right, so as we go through this webinar, please feel free to go ahead and ask questions in the Q&A section of the WebEx. We're going to be trying to answer questions throughout this entire webinar, so go ahead and ask away. Try to stump, Parley's a pro. I won't claim to be a pro, but Parley's a pro, so try to stump Parley here during the presentation. But go ahead, please, get your questions in as often, as early as you like. We're going to be doing a lot of live demoing today, so we'll be happy to go ahead and show you things live during the webinar. So go ahead and get those questions answered or submitted as soon as you can. And then also at the end of the presentation, we're going to be recording this whole thing. So at the end of the presentation, we're going to follow up with an email and we're going to send out a link to the recording. So everyone that registered will have access to that, and you can review it later or send it off to and share it with your colleagues. All right, so let's kick things off with a bang here. So UNIFI version 2.3 is now live. It went live last Friday night. So really happy to announce that that's out live globally. You can read the full release notes at our blog, which is linked here on the screen. But we're going to go ahead and dive in and take a look at what's new. All right, so first and foremost, Revit 2018 integration. I know this is a big ticket item. Revit 18 is now fully supported, so all the customer content is being updated as we speak on the cloud side. That'll take a few days, but the majority of that should be cranking as we speak. Integration with Revit 2018, the API integration between UNIFI is all fully supported and live currently today. Okay, so a couple of the key features here. The first one here is called Easy Editing. So we got a lot of different questions and ideas submitted on our ideas portal. This one came directly from our ideas portal. Actually, a lot of, I think, the features that got released this cycle were from our ideas portal. But we made it a little bit easier now to kind of edit your families directly in UNIFI. You can now right-click on one or more pieces of content and select the Open in Family Editor option, and that's going to open that up directly in the Family Editor ready to modify. And once you're done with those modifications, you can then select the Upload Family button in the UNIFI Revit Add-ins toolbar, and that'll send that then right into UNIFI ready to get uploaded as a revision to the existing family. So, like I said, this was a user-submitted feature in our Ideas portal. So, for some of you who have heard of the Ideas portal and have submitted ideas, thank you. For the rest of you guys who haven't checked that out, be sure to check that out and submit your ideas and vote on ideas that you want to see added and features you want to see added into UNIFI, because we monitor that very heavily. Okay, so let's take a quick look. We're going to jump into UNIFI here, and let's take a quick look at how we can modify that. So I'm just going to go in here and do a quick search for chair. Right-click on any family that you want, and you can just see, you'll see this Open in Family Editor option. So you just go ahead and click that, and that's going to go ahead and launch that family editor right there. Now, when you make your modification, you're ready to go ahead and send that back into UNIFI. You go in the Add-ins toolbar. You'll see there's an Upload Family option here under the UNIFI toolbar. You can select that, and that's going to go ahead and send that chair or that element right back into the upload screen, and you can see what revision information you're about to make to it and what changes, and then you just go ahead and upload it. So it's as simple as that.
Steve, one quick question. Can anybody do that?
Yeah, great question. Yes, it's open to any user to be able to do that. And then based on what you're doing with the family, if you're submitting it back in, you're a normal level user and you're just uploading that, whatever library you select to upload it to, it's gonna send the notifications to your admins, and then that will basically goes in a pending status, waiting for your administrators to QA and QC it before it goes live in a library. So it kind of still maintains the entire workflow like everyone's used to expecting.
Yeah, I think the feedback here has been in the past that making modifications to content was always a bit of a challenge. There were several steps involved with having to download into a zip file, double click, open, things like that. So we really tried to make that as streamlined as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that saves the user's time is a good thing. So, speaking of saving time, this is probably I think probably this is the #1 rated feature request on the portal. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. For a long time
I know
now.
Yes, it has been up there for a while. It does take us sometimes a little bit of time to get around to these things, but this one's going to make a lot of people happy. Batch inserting was a top feature request in the Ideas portal. We can now multi-select multiple element types, okay? So it doesn't just need to be RFAs. It can be a mixture of element types, from schedules to system families to RFAs to any type of component that or element type that UNIFI is compatible with. We can batch select these things, right-click, and we can select a new batch insert option. Okay, this is going to pop up a new dialog box, which you're seeing here on the right-hand side. It's kind of like a shopping cart type of mentality, where you can then see and review everything you're about to batch insert, and some elements may require a step before you batch insert them, like a piece of content with a type catalog. And so once you've prepped these things and you've selected them and they're ready to go, then you can hit insert, and then these elements are all then inserted into the family or into the project. And so this should really help to raise the efficiency of, again, getting multiple element sets into your projects very quickly, very efficiently. I know some customers were doing this or working around this by having model groups and all different sorts of things to try to kind of batch insert elements at once. This should help to kind of streamline that process. So let's go ahead and take a look at batch inserting. So we're going to see here, we'll stick with this chairs example. I've got a piece of content coming from a channel, okay? So this is from the out-of-the-box library. I've got another one here from an internal channel. This one has that TC in the bottom right-hand corner, which means it's a type catalog. And then I've just got another piece of content from my normal, another in-house library, a company library. I'm going to select all three of these. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go to batch insert. Okay, these things are going to iterate through real quickly. That's going to punch up a batch insert dialog box. Now, this batch insert dialog box is giving us 3 tabs across the top. First one is pending, second one is ready for insert, third one is failed. I can see I've got one pending, ready to go, and this is actually that type catalog family. So even though we're going to batch insert this stuff, we may not want to batch insert a type catalog with 1,000 types. So this is giving me the option to go ahead and click and choose the types we want. And this is a type catalog, one type, which kind of makes you shake your head, but I didn't make it. So we'll go ahead and select that type and hit insert. And now we've got all 3 of those pieces of content are ready to insert, which we can see here with our little notifications underneath each family. We go ahead and click insert, and that should go ahead and insert that content into our project. And actually, I was inside of a family editor, which I should then batch insert that in the family editor, which is kind of odd. But so that's going to go ahead and batch insert that content, and then it's ready to go. It'll be listed in your families, inside the list of families in your family browser, in your project browser, and that's how easy it is to kind of batch insert that. Now again, that'll work with any element type. So whether that's a detail, whether that's a family, or a system family, it doesn't matter. That same process will be consistent across all those different element types.
If we're getting a question here, do we know if there's a limit to how many can be batch inserted at a time?
Good question. There should theoretically be no limit. It may just take a little bit of time to kind of queue them and then insert them, but I haven't found any challenges so far with any limitations, but feel free to try to blow it up and see what happens, but it's pretty stable, so I don't think we'll see any issues there. So yeah, should be no limits. So if you do run into any challenges with any limitations, just feel free to contact our support team and they'll work with you on it. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, should be good to go.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. So inserting RFAs into the family editor. Now this is another user requested feature. This one came from our friend Robert at Stantec here. So this, it's been very, it's very common when we're nesting families. As we're developing different families, we have nested families within those. Now in the family editor, you can now insert another family directly from UNIFI. This in the past was not able to happen. So this is a fairly simple process. So let's go ahead and let's just edit this guy real quick, this table. And I'm probably going to do something silly, but let's see if I can add, well, this makes sense. I'll just add a chair into that particular table. And so now we'll see I can add another family into this family, and now I've got a nested combination here. So pretty simple process. You know, we basically just opened that up so that you can combine these components together and build more complex families. So that's added as well. Okay, let's take a look at the next one here. So we've got improved upload review process. So we had a couple requests to go ahead and add more information for the administrators. When they go to review a batch of content that's been uploaded, it's pending. It's in the pending status for QA and QC. We've added a couple more, a little bit more information here, the family categories, what revision status is changing. So it's going from revision 1 to revision 2. You know, different notes that may have been added at the time the user submitted that content, which is great to know what they've changed once they've submitted it. So this kind of information lived in a one-off basis before, but it wasn't easily viewable in a batch interface like the batch content upload review screen. So we've added that information in there. And then kind of some housekeeping behind the scenes, we've got, you know, with UNIFI Connect, we've started to upload more manufacturers content that has anywhere from thousands to almost tens of thousands of types in certain type catalogs, which seems very large, but that is kind of the norm when it comes to manufacturing content. So we've noticed there was some speed degradation issues with very, very large type catalogs like these, slowing down the results screen. We've gone ahead and fixed that. So we've added that enhancement in there, so that should be as speedy as typical of what you're used to experiencing. So even if you are viewing large type catalog families within UNIFI, it's going to be very snappy now. And then also, in addition to that, when you would then click on that family to open up the file details page, and there was a lot of types to view, that page would be slow to load. That's been enhanced as well, so now that page is very, very snappy also. Okay. On top of that, there's a lot of different things that were fixed. You know, if you want to read the full release notes, go to our blog and view the release notes there. There was something like 60 some odd features were added to the platform, and I don't know how many bugs were fixed, but the full release notes are listed on our blog.
Steve, I think one thing that's worth noting there on that topic is that we fixed the, some of our users found that when a custom preview image had been applied to a family and a revision was later added to it, that custom image was being overwritten, and we fixed that in this release. So good.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. That came up quite often with a lot of customers. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Harley, you want to go ahead and kick this section off here?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So, you know, we wanted to kind of change gears here a little bit and start talking about how UNIFI can be personalized for each user, whether you're an admin or a designer. You know, it's my pleasure to get to work with a lot of BIM managers out there, and it's always surprising to me, you know, although UNIFI is such a simple tool and easy to use, it seems like the way that folks use it is very different depending on where you're at or your size and things like that. And to that end, you know, I think every individual user also has a unique way of working. This comes up a lot where I hear that folks are hoarding content to their local desktops, right? Because it's easier sometimes to manage their own little collection of content than to try to find each of those pieces in their company libraries. So I think we need to focus on a couple features here. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we'll get into a quick demo here in a second, but one of the features that we really want to talk about was saved searches. Saved searches are really one of the hidden gems of UNIFI. Our search analytics tell us that not very many customers are taking full advantage of this, but those that are actually receiving a good benefit out of them. You can see really healthy insertion and search stats resulting from these. So saved searches are basically custom queries that you as BIM administrators can set up for your entire company. Things like highest rated glass doors, or your maybe a K-12 collection, or maybe a specific project collection. A lot of these can be created and enabled by a good tagging strategy. So UNIFI has a metadata layer where you can custom apply your own tags, and those tags can be referenced in those queries, resulting in kind of a dynamic collection, which is very powerful. But a lot of users don't realize that they can actually create these custom queries for themselves as well. And we're showing just a few examples here of how that can be set up. The middle portion here showing some groups of different saved searches that have been created for an entire company. But then at the bottom, we're showing also some examples of how saved searches can be used for curation. When you're managing a large library, some of these could be helpful. You might have your users apply a tag called broken to any content that they need a fix made to, right? And then this saved search, anytime you run this, will retrieve all of those broken items. Maybe you have a last modified saved search where you're coming in on a regular basis, maybe every week or 2 weeks, and you're just looking at everything that's been uploaded over that period. Lowest rated, same kind of idea, and that never used is also something that can be done through a saved search.
So maybe I should take a quick look and dive in and see kind of how we do that in UNIFI. So let's take a look. Let's say I do a search for boilers. I very continuously come in and search for boilers quite often. I've got a lot of my own specific boilers that I like. So as I go into a particular piece of content in UNIFI, every user has the ability to click on this favorites button in the top right-hand corner. As soon as that heart is filled in, that means that you favorited that piece of content. Okay, that doesn't matter the source of the content. It can be from a third-party channel, like we're seeing here with some out-of-the-box content. It can be internal content. As soon as you favorite that content, then that stuff is favorited under your username. Now, there's also a toggle that I don't think a lot of people, we hear this quite often probably, right? A lot of people don't realize that this heart here to the right of your search bar actually toggles your exact results based on what you have favorited. And so sometimes it takes a minute. Let me show you one I have actually already set up. It'll take a minute once you actually do a favorite to save in the Elasticsearch engine. So I know I have some favorites, chillers, so I'll show you those. When I click on this heart, based on the search for chillers, it just filters down and shows me everything in my chillers that are my favorite chillers. So this works for any type of search that you currently have listed that you're looking at. You can, any of that favorited content, you can just quickly toggle that to go from, 129 results, that's matching my search results, to out of those results, show me just my favorites. So really quick, really simple. And then any type of search that you currently have that you've done, like let's say we have a pretty complicated search, like a 2-hour rated shaft wall, and we can see I've got just a handful of kind of shaft walls here that are fire rated. I can click Save This Search, and that's then going to bring me directly to my Save Search screen, where you can then name the search 2-hour rated fire shaft walls, and all the information about where you were searching for, the libraries and whatnot, all that's already pre-filled out or pre-filled in. And then you can just simply select any type of image for that particular element that you want for that saved search, and then also select where you want to save it to. Okay, so I can go to my favorites, and I can save it there, and then I'll just go ahead and save that real quick. And then in your Save Searches, under my Save Searches, I have my favorited 2-hour rated fire shaft walls, where then you can just launch that anytime you want and get to that same content. So pretty quick, pretty simple.
Yep. Yeah, and on the favoriting topic, you might end up with many, many favorites, and that's okay because you can use your Save Searches to kind of break those apart into different groups, which is very effective. When we look at the search analytics of the users, we find that it's very common that users are making repeated searches every day, almost. The same terms. They're inserting a lot of the same content. And with these two features, it can really help you drill down to those more quickly.
Yeah, we had a good question here from Liz. I just want to answer real quick as well. So I know Parley's answered this also, but I just want to shed a little bit more clarity. So the question from Liz is, do you need to create and apply a custom tag for elements in order to create a complex collection? Really depends, Liz. One of the things that you're able to do with Save Searches is there's a lot of options in here. If you go and right-click on a Save Search and edit, you'll see there's a lot of different ways to slice the database. So I can see everything from, show me everything that's 4-star plus rated, so your ratings, to family categories, to element types, to even to the author of that content, and then meta tags. So meta tags is just one of several options. So you have your search capability, you can filter by name, you have all these different filters here as well, and then don't forget you can change what sources you're even searching from to begin with. So I've seen a couple folks since we've launched channels starting to make Save Searches specifically based on just the manufacturing content that's available in here. And that's an interesting way to do it as well. So there's lots of different things you can slice and dice the database by. So there's lots of different things in here, even exclusion of tags as well. So tags is definitely a powerful custom way to do things. Everything else seems to be pretty regimented based on family category and system type and things of that nature. But I would say the best way to do this is experiment in here and see what you're trying to achieve. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to always try to help that out.
Yeah, thanks. We've also got one other question. Are Save Searches global, or is it visible locally on the user's computer? Want to answer that, please?
Yeah, great question. So both, I guess. So there are company Save Searches, which the company administrators can create. As soon as they create these, every user across the company has access to these company Save Searches, okay? Now, as you as an individual, all of your specific Save Searches are only under the My Save Search tab. These are only visible to you. We have had a couple requests to share these with colleagues as well, and that's something we've been looking at. But currently, these are only visible to yourself as an individual. And because your user profile lives in the cloud, whenever you log into UNIFI, if you leave work and your work computer and you go home and you want to do some more work and you log in there, all your Save Searches as well as the rest of user profile information will flow because it's all based on cloud. So you don't have any issues there. It's not tied to a specific computer. It's actually tied to your user account. Okay? All right, so let's continue on here. So another key aspect of the UNIFI platform is the admin, analytic, and management portal. About 70% of our global customers use this portal to manage UNIFI across their entire organization. They can learn insights into their content usage. And in addition to analytics, there's some pretty powerful management tools like our batch tag manager here. And so we're going to take a look at this. Again, not all of our customers are using this today. I think this is a very big section of UNIFI that's got a lot of power associated with it. So we want to dive in and just kind of take a quick review over a couple sections of this tool set here. Now, currently, I just want to make it very clear, currently today, only company administrators can log into this portal, and that's something we're looking at opening up as well, but currently today, only company admins can log in here. And you'll start off with, seeing a dashboard when you first log in, have some high-level information on, usage. These are the same types of notifications that are pending or in progress that you see in the desktop application. But again, because this is a web app, you could reach this on your mobile phone, and it's just a simple web browser, so you can gain access to this data pretty easily. You'll see things all the way down to 5-star analytics, active versus inactive users, license usage, lots of good stuff here. So the first one I want to actually take a look at is going into the Batch Tag Manager, which is this tool set down here under this tags option. Now, this is basically your UNIFI search in the web, okay? So I can come in here and search for chair, and I'm going to get the results for all those different chairs. You notice these are the exact same results we got down in the UNIFI desktop application, okay? Couple things we can do here is we can search for content up here. There's library selection, so just like you have in the desktop app, you can select by libraries, different sorting capabilities, different filtering options, and even different options to turn data in these columns here in the web browser on and off as well. Okay, so basically the same type of searching capabilities you have in the desktop application you have available here as well. And any content that we select here, we can click this little button up top to batch select everything, or we can select things individually, and then we click this blue Manage Tabs button. And as we select this tab, this is where I can say, hey, I want to turn the seating tag on for every one of these, or you know what, maybe I want to add the notorious Steve tag and add that to all those pieces of content as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply on that. That's going to add 2 tags to 3 files, and every single batch process we do here is actually stored in our history option. So we make a mistake and we added 1,000 tags to, or we added a tag to 1,000 families or a couple thousand families, and that was a mistake, we can just simply come in here anytime and click undo. So really nice clean interface, easy to go ahead and process data and manage our tags. Now, one of the things we get asked quite often is, well, how do I fix misspelling? Like, our users are adding tags and they're misspelling thing, or they're adding the same tag and a tag that was similar already exists. We have this tag manager on the left-hand side where I can come in and search for that Steve tag and say, you know what, I've got 2 Steve tags here, no reason to have 2. One's enough, Steve. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and merge these tags together, and then I can click those 2 to merge them, and then tell me what the final name is going to be on that, and we'll just do final Steve is fine. We'll merge those 2 together, and now any of the content that particular tag was applied to, it's automatically been merged and renamed, and now we'll see there's only 1 tag. And if I click on that tag here on the left-hand side, all the content that's associated with that tag will start to show up here in the middle as well. So we can search for any type of tags, click on those, see the content that's got that tag applied, rename tags, merge tags, and I believe delete that tag from here as well. So really, really easy to kind of manage your data and your extra layer of metadata that you have applied to your content in the database. Let's see, a couple of things we want to show you. There's another, let's see, in users, we added, I don't know, probably, do you remember when we added the office location? Relatively recently.
That was our last release, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, pretty recently here. We can go into, you'll see there's a new option, column of data called office location. This has comes up pretty regularly. I think this was another one of those features that was requested by several different users and customers. We can now come into the every user profile information, click edit, and we can actually type in or select what office location that particular user is a part of. So we'll put Mr. Parley here in New York. And there's no Montana currently, Parley, so we'll add you to New York for now. And then we just click save on that. And that's now going to give us more metadata on top of our users. We look to continue to expand this. And expand this in ways that actually start to tell us about that type of user. Like, what kind of user is that? Is that an HVAC designer, or is that an electrical engineer, or is that an architect? So we want to start to add in more and more information that you guys can compile on your user base, just to help you guys organize this in a much, organize your content and the access to that content to specific types of users in your organization much more fluidly than you can today. One other thing I want to show is the sharing of libraries. Now, this feature is used really extensively by building owners on our platform. It's used in other scenarios by some pretty large-scale companies that are working on large projects, and they want to share libraries amongst the design and build teams to work on the same content. And so we see this used pretty regularly by a certain customer type, but this is something that's not used very, very widely by all customers. So we want to just kind of spend a minute here and talk about this. So because content is, again, lives in your private slice of the UNIFI cloud, every company has their own private account here, you can go into any one of your libraries, and if you're working with maybe you're the shell and core architect, and there's another TI architect, and you guys want to share some assets and some content for the specific building owner that you're working for, you guys can share, slice off a separate library and share that library with that other partner. And it's very easy to do that. In the portal, you go to libraries, select the library that you want to take a look at, and then you click the share button in the top right-hand corner, and you have some different sharing permission options. You go ahead and click that, and then you just put in the email address of the recipient. Now, that recipient does need to be a UNIFI customer, and then we have some different ways that we can collaborate there. So just contact us if you have a partner you want to work with, and we'll help to set them up. And as soon as you put in the email address, if they already are an existing UNIFI customer, we'll actually look at their domain of the email address, and we'll send out an email and notify all the company admins on that particular account. So even if you send a request to a senior architect that really has nothing to do with Revit or design technologies in this partner company, we'll actually look it up and see automatically if they have company admins and they are a UNIFI customer. We'll send them the proper messages. So you fill this information in, you send that message out, they get an email, they click and hit accept, and then they'll get brought into this portal, and that particular library will show up for them or their users as they set their permissions inside of UNIFI in the desktop application under shared libraries. So you have your company libraries here and you're searching, you have shared libraries here, and then you have your external third-party channels. So 3 different sources, you can search through all 3 at the same time or select any one particular source that you want at any time. So pretty powerful in that regard. Let's see, Parley, anything else under here we should take a look at?
I think you should show the event stream, the insertion record.
Yeah, this is something we launched Autodesk University last year, and really, really powerful tool. Again, something that's not very well known. So what this event stream is kind of our project center, right? Every time a designer in our firm is inserting content into a project, right? So if I'm a designer in a firm and I'm in UNIFI and I'm in this project here, as soon as I go ahead and just go back and insert something real quick, go back to a particular piece of content, right? Click to download it, insert that piece of content, place it in my model, okay? As soon as I've done that, then this particular element is the analytics for that insertion is being sent back up to the cloud and it's going into your event stream, okay? So we'll be able to come into this event stream, see all the projects that UNIFI has been connected to throughout your firm by any designer over a certain duration of time. There's different time slicing up top here. And then during that duration of time, we can search for projects here on the left. We can click on a project name. It'll sort our results based on that project. And then there's a column in here called Update. And so I want to go and check. I've got a CD submission about to come out this Friday. I want to go and check on this project and make sure there's no out-of-date content in that project. So I can sort by that project by searching and then clicking on the name, and then double-clicking this Update column shows me that Steve Germano, myself, had inserted this planar signage schedule into this particular project, and when I had inserted it, I had inserted a revision 2. It's currently revision number 3 from the source. So this specific example is showing a third-party piece of content that I got from a UNIFI channel, which happens to be supplied by a manufacturer. So I had inserted that schedule, the manufacturer made a change. I want to go in and probably update that element before I go ahead and submit my CDs at the end of this week or whatever that submission is. So this becomes a nice way to keep your projects in sync with the content that you've inserted in that project. And again, it's irrelevant of the source from where that content came from, whether it was content that was updated internally by your administration staff, whether it was by third-party content, or whether it was by another partner from a shared library. All those different sources all consolidate here to show us what content is out of date or out of sync with our projects. So really, really powerful feature. Lots of customers are using this. We see it quite often used where you have a large project, you break into multiple RVPs, and just keeping content in sync with those multiple RVPs can be a challenge sometimes. This tool set or feature set here can really streamline that and make it what used to be a daunting task into something that's pretty trivial. Anything to add on that, Parley?
No, I think just in the interest of time, we should keep it going. Maybe just quickly show the channels where those can be enabled, since our next slide is Clone Wars.
Sure. Yeah, great segment or segue there. So the subscription center was added about 2 months ago here, and we have lots of manufacturers and third-party content providers adding in different content channels. These content channels can be subscribed to by the administration staff, and as soon as these are subscribed to different user groups, the user groups automatically have access to them directly within UNIFI and can search and download and insert that content directly into their designs. So that's where the ability to gain access to that content comes in. And now what we have is actually the ability of something, when we launch this, to clone content, or what we call copy that third-party content into your internal library. So a lot of times this third-party content is not going to have your shared parameters, and you're going to want to go ahead and copy that stuff, modify it before you use it on your projects. You can do that through UNIFI as well. And so we have the ability here to come into any particular piece of content from a third-party source, like this one's coming from the out-of-the-box library. I can right-click on that and copy that to a local library. And when I do that, I'll just select my generic library and go ahead and select that, and that's going to be copied locally. So now if I go ahead and type chair in here, I should now see that particular element will show up in here twice. Let's find it, probably by doing the stacking here. Well, I don't know where exactly it went, but it's in here. Oh, here it is. It's in here again. So now I have that chair in there stacked, and it's in my generic library. Now I can edit the parameters or do whatever modifications I want to do that to customize it for my firm. So even though we are copying it today, we are keeping track analytically of where it came from, or where that source was from originally. So in theory, if the source changes or gets modified, even though you've copied it locally, we can send through some notifications, and that's stuff we're looking at adding into the platform at a later time. But we have the kind of the groundwork laid for that to be able to track that stuff in the future. So that feature is available and currently live, so you can take advantage of that as well. And let's see. So moving on here, Paul, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, so UNIFI comes with a built-in request mechanism, so any user can request content from the administrators of libraries they select. And that's something that's been very popular already. I just wanted to touch on this little-known tip, I guess, that I've seen some people use, which is to use this form for changes to existing content. A lot of people see this as really just something for new content. But this can be used just as effectively to make requests for changes to existing content. And the way you might do that in your own firm workflow is have your users input the family name of the UNIFI family and just indicate, hey, this is an existing family, and then the changes that you'd like made to it. So just a quick tip there for everyone. When that request is sent, that's going to go to the administrators of the libraries you have selected, and they can make the change, add it to the request, and that will then become a revision to the existing element. And then this one here, just another tip for everybody. We've got, we do have the capability of UNIFI to support your system families. You know, a lot of these things that typically only resides within a Revit project. UNIFI also supports your wall types, your system, your drafting views, your schedules. And some people actually don't know that yet, so we thought it'd be worthwhile to mention that. And those can be exported from within the Revit add-in, which is on the add-ins toolbar. The content request, let's say there's a request for new content, and that request is for a wall type or a stair type or something like that. You can fulfill those requests through the add-in as well. All you have to do is make sure that you're in the in-progress state of the request when you do your batch exporting from Revit. And when you hit export, those items will then show up within the request itself, rather than a new upload.
Yeah, that's something that comes up quite often. People say, well, how do I update or fulfill requests that are system families? And you can do that now. You know, the same way probably just described, just go in your batch export feature. So continuing on here, we did have a good question here I want to touch base real quick related to user management. Is there any, so Liz asked a question here, is there any reload this family now message that we can push to specific user groups? There isn't currently, Liz, and that's something we're actually looking at in kind of how we collaborate around project spaces. So I just want to tell you, I think we'll follow up offline on that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because that's something that's you know, in discussions right now on how we can effectively communicate changes without kind of inundating folks with emails or notifications and those types of things to keep them really, really specific to what that particular user is working on. So yeah, that's something we'll definitely reach out on and touch base with you on. So to continue on, what's coming next? So you saw version 2.3 is live. What are we working on next? I'm really happy to kind of talk to you guys about our next major release. So we're going to be graduating UNIFI to version 3.0. We're really excited about that. Multi-format is going to be really the big thing that we're announcing in this next release. You know, as design firms, Revit's a big challenge, and Revit content management is a big challenge, but there's a lot of different tools that we use as a firm to do our jobs. AutoCAD is still very, very prevalent in the industry. That's a big one we hear of quite often, and there's also lots of other types of things like Dynamo and Rhino and Grasshopper and all these different fun things that we use, 3D Studio Max by marketing, even down to PowerPoint presentations and PDF spec sheets. Word documents. So we're opening up the platform. We're going to go multi-format with this. Lots more information and news on this will be coming out in the future, but I just want to give everyone here today a sneak peek at what's coming. So pretty excited. We're all pretty excited here about that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions from our audience, and then we've got a lot of questions coming in. Please do submit your questions now, and we're going to go ahead and do our best to answer questions as we get them. Okay, so here's a good one. So from Chris Dilworth, are legends supported yet? Answer is no. They are not supported yet. People use legends in different ways. I know it's something that's very high on the list, and be interested to see if that's something that comes out pretty soon. So yeah, so we'll definitely give you more information about that offline, but that's been on our radar for some time now.
Yeah. Steve, while the questions are being typed in there, we've had a lot of people request a copy of the presentation today, the PowerPoint itself. We'll make sure to include that when we send out the link to the recording as well.
Yeah, it seems a lot of folks would like that for reference, so yeah, we'll definitely take care of that for you. Let's see, here's another one from Sim. Does UNIFI store or only manage content? Well, today, yes. As of 3.0, it'll expand and do more than content, if I understand your question correctly. So, the multi-format will do more than just Revit element types. So, yeah, so in the future, yes, it'll be compatible with multiple different design applications and different file formats in general, but today it's very specific to Autodesk Revit. And just to clarify, it's compatible today, UNIFI is compatible today with Revit 2012 plus all the way up to the current release 2018. Okay, here's another one from Adam. Are UNIFI channels strictly utilized for third-party manufacturing content? No, they're actually not. So one of the larger channels in here is actually the out-of-the-box Autodesk Revit content. So all of the different regional geographies of libraries are available, that are available from Autodesk are available here as well, and they're available in a subscription format. So as these things get modified from their sources, again, those things will be able to be revisioned in our database, and that data flows downstream to your event stream. So we're pretty excited to work with Autodesk on this and give them the capability to kind of modify their content in a more streamlined fashion and keep their content up to date. But the majority of the content you'll find in here will be manufacturing supplied. We may, we may find some other third parties that have really good generic content packs that we will supply on here, and then as multi-format becomes available, then we can open it up to even more exciting things, and I'll go into more detail on that on probably future webinar, future releases, but we're looking at opening it up to more of a resource center than just content. There's other things we need as design and builders to do our jobs, and there's more resources we want to supply that are a little bit outside of just the design content arena. So more details on that in the future as well.
Yeah. I just want to take the chance to encourage everybody to do visit this subscription center. Take advantage of the benefit it provides you, get connected to the source of content rather than letting this content kind of float around in your own libraries. That's okay, of course, if you need to make changes to the content, but we look forward to doing further functionality where we can further, connect you with the manufacturers in ways that make sense. So.
Yeah, and again, do remember when you subscribe, it's only what user groups you subscribe actually have access to this stuff. So when you first come in, you test it out with your administration group, however your users are set up, make sure that content is quote-unquote quality in your eyes, and then subscribe to your user groups. What we're seeing is most folks are coming in just subscribing all the user groups, but there's different ways you can do that. But yeah, subscribe, try it out. Even if you don't like the content, you can connect with the manufacturer and tell them what you don't like about it. You can 5-star rate it. So we want to get that, or the manufacturers, us, to help the industry. That communication is really, really important. So please go in there, subscribe, try the stuff out, and if you find someone or you don't find a brand on there you want, feel free to please notify us at sales@unifilabs.com, and we're talking to a lot of different manufacturers. We've gotten hundreds of requests from you guys, so please continue to add those in because we rate and rank them and go after the top requested manufacturers. And let your manufacturing reps know as well as they come in your office about getting onto UNIFI. Let's see, well, just got a question on how do we request manufacturing content. Currently, from Jason, just go in and email us at sales@unifilabs.com as the easiest way to do that. We'll add more features in here like a subscribe button, probably inside of there as well as in the UNIFI application somewhere as well. We're going to make it a little bit easier for you guys to send in those requests, but for now, just go ahead and email them, and it's the best way to do that. Let's see, we've got another question here. Probably I'll give this one to you. So can you talk about what's the best way to present this information to users at my company? The ideas information. What's the best way to present the ideas portal information to the users at my company?
Okay, so the ideas portal is an area for paying customers of ours to actually contribute and comment on other ideas and things like that. We, of course, welcome any feature requests from anybody, whether you're trialing the tool or are a user already. But the way you get into this, there's a link from within UNIFI. Steve showed that. That'll take you to this portal, and you'll need to create your own very simple user account. It's separate from the UNIFI account. And then once you're in, you can, like Steve's showing, see all the popular requests. You can vote on those, create your own, and comment on others. So.
Great, thanks, Bud. Let's see, go ahead, guys, keep getting in your questions. We'll take a couple more here before we break. So here's another one. I think I covered this earlier, but can normal users access the portal? Currently, they cannot. We are looking at expanding that, definitely to library admins and probably the normal level users at some point as well. But primarily, that portal is meant for management of your entire UNIFI deployment and some batch utilities. But we definitely want to open that up to library admins at some point, because they kind of have the same type of workflow as normal company admins as well. Probably I'll let you talk to this one. So question is, how do permissions work with safe searches? What if users don't have access to the libraries used in a safe search? That's a good question.
Yeah, good question. So the way that works, the safe searches themselves, when set up by company admin, they will appear to everybody within the company, but the results themselves will be filtered accordingly to what permissions each user is granted. So if a safe search queries 10 libraries and a user only has access to 2 of those, they will only see the content that's in those 2 libraries when clicking on that safe search.
Great, thanks, Brian. I got another question here. No help doc yet for 2.3. Well, I will bring that up. It may not be updated just yet. That gets updated on the cloud. The help document, I'm not sure if everyone saw that earlier. How you access some of this information is this little Get Support button in the bottom left-hand corner of UNIFI. There's email. You can email our support teams. That Ideas portal and request a feature button here will get you the Ideas portal. And this is the help document. So yeah, it looks like it's still being updated right now. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and contact our support team, as it says. Okay. All right. And let's see, any other questions? Please, all capital, support custom icons for safe searches. Yes, very common request. We added a bunch of new icons, when was that, probably a release or 2 ago, specifically around structural. Yeah, so that was a lot of these guys down here for the structural components, and a lot of those got added. But yeah, we are looking at doing some custom stuff. We haven't really dove into that just yet and added any custom icons. We've pretty much just been continuing to add to this library. And so, yeah, we'll reach out to you, Jeff, and touch base with you and see exactly which particular types of icons you're looking for. And I'm not sure about supporting custom ones, but perhaps we can. I don't know, something we'll dive into and talk with you offline about. Parley, do you know of any other icons that might be being added anytime soon?
I am not. Nope.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, and then a follow-up. Icons for libraries would be cool as well. Yes, that's another thing as well. There's a couple of view modes for libraries, kind of a folder-esque type of view, but I think most folks prefer, this grid mode, because as you go into the next level, you kind of get breakdowns of preview images. So having icons on this root level for the libraries themselves is the request that's coming in. Yep, I agree. Yep. Yeah, I agree. That would be cool. So. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I think if you got any last-minute questions, go ahead and please submit them before we break.
Yeah, any questions we didn't address, we'll get to after this. We had, I think, a record amount of questions here, so thanks to everyone for that.
Yeah, this is very good. There is another good one here. Real quick, I want to touch base. So can I request content from other companies using the request form? And yes, you can. There is a lot of folks doing this today. A lot of people will send out content requests to third parties, and that happens a lot. Also, folks who use, like, for example, our UNIFI Create Content team, if you have a shared library, when you go into the content request, there's a multi-step process. This step 3 library information, you can simply select what company you want to send that request to. That will show the list of companies that you have a shared library with. So in this example, I can send out a request to the UNIFI company and this shared library here, and then send that request directly to them. So there's different ways you can use this with different partners that are also on UNIFI's system, and you guys can collaborate in different ways. But we see this very, very often. So if you want more information on that, please do reach out to us, and we'll help you with that as well. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I think we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up. I want to just thank everyone for their time today. We had a really good turnout. So, you know, really great to talk with everyone today. And Parley, you know, again, it's always a blast when we get to hang out together. So I appreciate your time and joining me today as well. So thanks again, bud.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Thanks everyone. We'll go ahead and we'll follow up with